You're listening to The Blind Chick, an Aftersight original podcast. We're telling you stories about strength, overcoming hurdles, and living experiences. We see who you really are. Blindness can be an adventure. Are you ready for the journey of a lifetime? We are.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Blind Chick. That's Moses Street.
And that's The Blind Chick, the love of my life. And most important, all you people out there in the audience listening, and I'm doing finger guns pointing each one of you out right now. And we are so glad you tuned in. And today, man, it is an important podcast. So take it, Blind Chick.
Yeah, today's topic is really important. As you know, weather is changing, our environment is changing, things are heating up, there's lots more fires, there's lots more flooding, things like that, just natural disasters all the way around. And for you sighted people, yes, it's very terrifying, but if you are blind or low vision, it adds this whole kind of other level of terror. This last summer, I think it was, there was a fire that got really close to our home, and we'll talk more about that later in this episode. But a very good friend of mine, and he's a good friend of a lot of you. He's a podcaster with Unmute Presents, and he was on The Blind Chick last year, so you can look up his episode. But he was also on a couple of our other Aftersight originals, Navigating Life with Vision Loss, and even Blind Level Tech. It's Marty Sobo. And I asked Marty to come on today because Marty is living right now in an environmental disaster. And I've been trying to keep close tabs on him over the last few weeks because I've been extremely worried about him. But welcome back to The Blind Chick, Marty Sobo. I wish it was under better situations.
Thank you. I know it's all good. I appreciate you guys so much.
Oh, you bet.
How are you? I know we've been texting back and forth and have, but
it's
how
been
are you
insane.
doing?
Let me just tell you. I mean, there's just, the interesting thing is a lot of people know about all these fires in California now. They happen every year and stuff, A lot of the time it will take some structures, and mostly it's a lot of wildland type fire, which is out in the hills. Mm-hmm. They get the structure stuff under control, but then the rest of the fire, they try to keep it out in the brush area, even if it's really, really big. But over the past few years, the fires are just getting stronger and more powerful, and the wind. So to go back a little bit, this particular situation started on Tuesday last week. So and they had said wind is coming. It's going to be really bad winds. But the Santa Anas are kind of what they call them here, and they're very. It's usually windy, but this was different. There was just something about this that was different. We're talking 80 to 100 mile an hour wind gusts, constant in some areas. And
wow.
If you think about that for just a second, even if it's not even that fast, even if it would be regular, wind, like 50, 40, 50 miles an hour is kind of the average of what the Santa Ana winds are when they kick up here.
Right.
But if there's a fire and that sparks off, and then you get a gust of 50 mile an hour wind, and it takes those sparks and blows them in every direction, everywhere. And that's how the fires get so big, because
so fast.
It's so fast.
Right. I mean,
because of all the dry brush and whatever the situation is,
and you're in the Malibu area,
it's
right?
Like right on the border of like Malibu and Calabasas, which is right. At one point, there was 3 major fires on every side of my house within a mile.
Holy cow. Holy cow.
That particular day, on that Tuesday, it was just an eerie day. Like the winds were starting to kick up, and you can kind of tell there was something different. And then all of a sudden, you hear there was a fire that started in Pacific Palisades. And that's it's like a higher end area, really nice houses up there, really close to the water. There's also a lot of people there who've been living there for a really long time that were able to afford it way back when, and they never sold their houses, and they've just gone through that. Their properties and houses have just worth so much now, because they've been there for so long. But in any case, the wind was going, a fire started somewhere. I don't know where or how exactly within the Pacific Palisades, but they haven't really said the cause yet. But the fire kicked up, and immediately it just took off. And it was just bulldozing properties and homes and everything. I mean, it was really crazy, like you've never seen anything before, and things were just catching on fire, and being gone in a split second. It was just crazy.
Well, how did you hear about the fire originally? And were you just listening to the news and like, oh my goodness, or did you get some sort of alert on?
Well, everybody was getting alerts on the phones. Okay. There was that.
Okay.
But the fire kicked off, and then you hear. That the fire was really bad and it was spreading really quickly. And at first I was kind of like, well, it sounds kind of like the typical fire, Right. A few hours into it, I want to say, on that first day, on that Tuesday, I got a phone call from a family member, and they said that my aunt and uncle's house was gone, like off the map.
Oh my goodness. Completely,
everything was gone. And then after that, you hear how big the fires are, and people after people after people, their houses are gone, And if you think about like a small city in a beach town, right? Right. You have like the side of the mountain, and then you have PCH, which stands for Pacific Coast Highway. Right. And I mean, the grocery stores were gone. There was buildings that had been there that do different things for many, many, many years, gone. I mean, everything was just gone. It was crazy. I mean, it was like someone dropped a bomb in the middle of Pacific Palisades, and everything was just gone. I mean, and it was from all the smoke. It was black skies with like red in the sky.
Right.
And because of the wind, then all these other fires started happening. There was one that was like out in the Glendale, Pasadena area, which took off like the Pacific Palisades fire and just started devastating and destroying everything. And next thing I know, there's a fire that's kicked up like within a mile from my house, one direction, and then there's from the wind all these other fires that had started around, the mountains between Pacific Palisades and Malibu and the Calabasas area. And we're talking, there was fire all around my house within a mile or two. And we had to get ready to evacuate. Everything was packed and like ready to go. Right. And, you don't even know what to kind of really think. You don't know if you're going to have to go or not go. But I ended up going over to, my parents' house, and I was hanging out with my dad, and my brothers were on their way over, and we had dinner. And after dinner, everybody's phone all goes off at the same time, says, be ready to go,
Oh my gosh.
And then 30 minutes later, it was like, get out now. I mean, the fire was at the top of the hill there, like in where they live.
Right.
Oh my gosh, Marty.
And so it was crazy. I mean, it was just, you don't have time to even think, and of course nobody had any plan. It was like, grab whatever. My dad's like, I'll just grab a pair of sweats and we'll grab the animals and go. I'll be back here in the morning, no big deal,
Right.
I mean, he was out for like a week, more than a week, and there was military and there was fire department and there was everything you can imagine. You weren't going anywhere near their neighborhood. And the unfortunate thing is, and I don't really even understand this. I talk about it We have these conversations, but I don't even know how to comprehend why this is. But people are devastated. Houses are gone or damaged, or, and there's all these fires and trying to keep them under control. And you've got people out there that are dressing up like firefighters and going in and robbing people's homes or trying to, it's crazy. It was just,
that is just insane to me. Like, I can't. There's a special place in hell for those people.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. But it was bad. All over this was going on. They were trying to, that was part of the reason why they ended up bringing in the military, because the firefighters and the police, they just can't do everything and be everywhere all the time, So they had to have these, big military vehicles blocking off neighborhoods and not letting, it was crazy. It was totally crazy.
Yeah. So one of the things that they don't mention that I would think would be maddening is LA is notorious for horrific traffic. And, it takes 2 hours to go 20 miles. And so I would think if you're leaving at the last minute, you're going to end up in a traffic jam.
It was worse than that, because here's the thing. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Major traffic, because you think of all of the LA traffic like you were talking about, Moses, right?
Yeah.
And then you add all these people trying to get out right now because the fire's coming,
Right, because you all got the notice at the exact same time.
Exactly.
So everybody's leaving at the exact
so everyone's
time.
trying to throw whatever they can in the vehicle and go. And there was so much traffic, and the fire was moving faster than the traffic. So people had to literally get out of their vehicles and run. And the fire department later on had to go up and bulldoze cars off the road because people just abandoned their vehicles and they couldn't get emergency equipment up there. So they had to get bulldozers to plow the cars off the road just so emergency vehicles could get through.
Holy cow. Yeah, to me, that would be like being in a horror film, sitting there in your car. Because some friends of ours were in a Houston flood where they were all supposed to evacuate a hurricane. And they said that 2 hours, and they weren't even out of the city yet.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine, because the Malibu Canyons, this is just a little 2-lane road, or at least it used to be.
Yeah, it's pretty much still that. I mean, there's a couple of areas, that open up a little bit, but basically it's a 2-lane road down to the coast and back up from the coast. So
wow. Oh, and because of the Chicago fire, did people? This was not covered on the news, but did people run into the ocean? It was that close, and they could not get away. Because a lot of people went into Lake Michigan to save themselves from the Chicago fire.
Yeah, it's kind of a little, the difference between there and here is most, or I should say majority of the homes are on what they call the north side of PCH, which is not the water side. It's hard it's too far to basically run and jump in the water. You'd have to run down the mountain your house is on, cross PCH, cross over the sand, and then get in the water. That's not even an option. Right. But there were houses in certain areas that have been there for a really long time that are literally right on the water, on the what they call the south side. So your front door is right on PCH, and the back of your house is hanging over the water or right on the water.
Right.
And a lot of those houses just burned down to nothing.
Really?
Yeah, just gone.
Even so,
that was like an iconic strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they always talk about fire doesn't jump roads.
It jumps roads all the time. That's not. Even the fires here, they jumped the 101 freeway. They jumped, the 405. They jumped PC8. They jump. It's.
And is it because I'm guessing it's because of the wind, and you said, those embers.
Yeah, the wind comes and blows embers in every direction all over the place, and then more fires start from that.
So going back now, you're at your parents. You and your parents have to evacuate. Where did you go from there?
They went to my brother's house. Well, actually, we all went to my brother's house to start with.
Wow.
And was that very far away from where the fires were?
Actually, the interesting thing is the brother they went to on the first day, they had to evacuate because they were close to the Glendale, the fires that broke out in that Altadena, Glendale area.
Right.
But they are more in the city part of that town. So the fires they got the fires to kind of stay up in the mountains. It didn't come and like destroy where they lived or anything. So they ended up being pretty safe, but they were taking abundant of a precaution, I should say, in the beginning, because there was just so much devastation and they didn't know where the wind was going to blow the flames. So, or the embers or whatever.
Wow.
So Marty, I want to go back a little bit when you guys first got the alerts and you packed the car. Like, what did you put in the car? Like, how did you even know? Like, what were some of the things like that you
honestly
these are at the top of the list?
Okay, so first of all, it was only my dad. So all of us were trying to, figure out, we ask him, what does he need, and basically he grabbed a pair of sweats, he grabbed the dogs, the animals and stuff, put them in his, Jeep, and then he basically got, his meds and his gun and walked out the door.
Oh, wow.
And that was it.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, there was no time,
Wow. Wow. Because that's one of the things they talk about, like, even here in Colorado, you're supposed to have like the to-go bag. And it's like, I don't really even know what would go in there. I guess, like with your dad, of course, grab the animals, the medicine. I didn't even think about the gun, but I guess that makes sense, right? But it's like, I don't even know. I wouldn't even know where to start, really,
Yeah. Well, that's why having a plan far in advance, is a good idea. I mean, and here's like a perfect example, right? If you're in that situation, you can't think, like you just have to like go right away. And as a blind person, most of the time, people don't use their canes and stuff like that in their own home because they know their own home, right? So if you have to go and you can't think about, where's my cane? I need a cane, right? You don't have time for that. You're out, you got to go.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So could you, because, you have not been blind your whole life. You have actually
10 years
haven't
I've
been blind. Yeah. Which is really not that long, right, Marty?
No, it's not. I'm still, every day, it's like learning stuff,
Right, exactly. How do you feel that it impacted you differently than if you had been sighted?
You feel helpless sometimes because, of course, like you want to be able to run around and help everyone, But the problem is like especially when you're not in your own home and you know where every little nook and cranny of everything is. I mean, I still grew up in that home, but still, it's been a long time. I mean, we go there and we hang out and have family events and stuff. But when you don't live in a place, it's a totally different scenario. And, so basically, my two brothers were there and one of my brothers grabbed me and he said, I'm getting you out of here. And he took me out and put me in his truck and said, just don't move, stay there. We're going in like 5 minutes, and they ran in and they were trying to help him get the animals into the Jeep and help him get whatever things he could get in that moment in 5-10 minutes and get out of there, Wow. And normally I would be right there helping like everybody else. But I mean, they're more worried about not being able to get me out fast enough. And they're also worried like, I'm just not as fast as they are, or I just can't obviously see like they can. So any time that you lose trying to save me or get me out, the first priority is to get me out of that house so they can go and help him get out of the house without having to worry about where I'm at or what I'm doing or whatever,
Right. Could you, especially when it's gotten so bad, I can't even imagine what it's like outside your home, like, as far as the air quality.
Oh, it's awful. I mean, for a while, it was like nighttime during the day with blood red skies.
Oh, God. Wow.
And there was a lot of fires around. So, of course, it's not just one small fire. You're talking about, fires that are 20 miles away from each other, sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 miles away from each other.
Right. So, Marty, if I remember right, when you were on the blind check before, you were actually worked for the fire department?
Yeah, in Oregon.
Is that right?
I lived in Oregon, and I worked for the fire service in Oregon, doing, community outreach and operations.
So would you actually share some of that knowledge? Did that help, I'm guessing, because you would kind of understand, or did it almost make it worse because you kind of knew the back end?
Well, so no matter what you do or who you are, it's still scary. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
it's just...
Yeah.
It's just a scary thing, and I guess even with my experiences and things, you see so many people that are unprepared, and it's devastating that you have to basically come to terms with being able to just go on a moment's notice with nothing, right? I mean, because the most important thing is, getting yourself out, or getting the people out and animals, if you can do that,
So going along with that, what, especially from your background, working in that field, what are some practical tips, like what that to-go bag that we had talked about? Like, what should we have in it? Like,
well, first of all, I would say that before you even get to like the go bag, you got to have like a plan with your family, So, because here's the thing, what if you can't drive and you're by yourself? Or what if you're somewhere where you can't drive? And I'll give you a perfect example of this, and I don't mean to be really morbid, but I think it's reality and people should understand. But
it is.
in
That's
that
why we're doing
Altadena fire, there was a family. It was a father and two sons, the adult sons, right? The one son was in the hospital before the fire started because he had gotten sick. Something happened. I don't know exactly the details, but he wasn't able to be right there because he was in the hospital. The father was disabled, and the father was also taking care of his other son who was living with him, who was a paraplegic in a wheelchair. And the son that normally helps them out was in the hospital, and they called and said, we need help getting out of here. I mean, they don't drive and they didn't have any other help, and help didn't show up for, like 30 hours later to get them, and it was too late by them, and they didn't make it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I worry about that. Just here in our little town in Colorado, we had only lived in this house for, I don't even think a year. It was like the first summer. Moses was at the gym, which wasn't too far away, but pretty far away. And I got an alert on my phone that there was a tornado coming. And we have, I call it a serial killer basement because it's not really, it's not built out. We live in a house that was built in 1899. So it's dirt down there. So you could hide bodies down there. And I hate going down there. There's spiders and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty much like a big crawl space, if that helps. But growing up in the South, I knew about tornadoes, and I know that you needed to go to the basement, right? And so I got my guide dog, and but I was afraid to go very far into the basement, but it was terrifying. And so Moses called me. I had my phone, and I did think about, even before I went in the basement, what do I need to take down there? And I grabbed a bottle of water, and I grabbed my cell phone. And Moses called me, and he goes, I'm at the gym, and we got this alert, and he goes, I'm coming home now. And everything, the tornado did touch down in the town right next to us. But it was like that thought of being alone. And then last summer when there was a fire, and I was actually at work, 50 miles away from my home, but Moses was at home. And I got the alert. He did not get the alert on his phone that said, you're under pre-evacuation, pack your bag, get ready. And I freaked out because I'm, 50 miles away. So I called Moses, and thank goodness for once he answered his cell phone.
It's a boomer thing.
Which that's a whole other issue. But he didn't even really know. Like, he didn't get any alert. He didn't get any.
That's a common thing. I mean, when I was going to my dad's house, we were driving, and I got an alert on my phone, but he didn't get one on his, and we were literally in the same vehicle.
Whoa.
Wow.
There was also a major thing about the alerts. People were really upset because the alerts, would be wrong information, or they would get it way late, or they would get it, But, you and I were talking about this, but this is what had happened and why it kind of failed is you have to imagine that, like, when all this devastation is going, they cut the utilities off, power gets off, power lines go down, other things go down, whatever.
That's right.
So a message got sent out at whatever point, or messages get sent out at whatever point, and they get stuck in the tower because, if they can't go out, they don't get recycled after, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. So when some sort of cell tower power or whatever it is comes back online, it still has those messages, in the cloud or in the tower or whatever.
In the
and then
system,
it sends them out.
In the queue, right?
And now people are getting messages that are, way more people are getting messages that should get them. They go everywhere because it doesn't now know where it's supposed to be directed to. And you're getting way outdated information, or you're getting information that doesn't pertain to your neighborhood, or all kinds of things. It was a mess. I mean, it was a lot of, it was just, there was a lot of things that really happened that made it more devastating, I feel like.
Well, Marty, we're so thankful for the information and that you're safe. And for anybody who's listening in the California area who have been affected by the wildfires, we hope that you guys are safe and that you have been able to recover to this point as much as possible. As we were talking about, this part one is just the beginning of this amazing journey and story into emergency preparedness. And we felt like this was a very important episode and topic to be bringing you in light of all these California wildfires. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, let us know. feedback@aftersight.org, or you can give us a call, 720-712-8856. But next week, Marty's going to be diving into the hyper specifics of what you need in an emergency situation. So you're going to want to check that out and listen, become a regular subscriber. Leave a comment in our message section, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you consume your podcast, because we're growing rapidly and it's so exciting. And we couldn't do this without you. So on behalf of the Aftersight team, my name is Jonathan Price. Thank you for listening to The Blind Check.